right when that ends the show. Hey, welcome back to this week with the Real Time Unleashed show, and I'm really excited to have a new guest on here who I met online via YouTube. Jennifer Bennie, Air Force vet, or I'm sorry, a Navy vet. Yes. I don't want to mess you up there. Graduate of Naval ROTC out of Penn State, Big Ten school. Mine too, except I was Wisconsin.
Oh, yeah. Not quite as good. No. Yeah,
I know. There's a little rivalry there.
Yes.
And you went in to became a naval aviator.
Sure did.
That's really awesome. So. Awesome. You know, I've got a lot of friends who are naval aviators, and I always tell them, you know how you can always tell a naval aviator?
Don't worry, they'll tell you.
God, you all have the same answer, so you must hear it a lot.
It's my party joke. How do you know who the pilots are in the room? Don't worry, they'll tell you. It's my party joke.
That's great. Well, Jen here and her husband Scott have a great YouTube channel called Walk with History. I found it because I follow another channel that you've been on, which is JD's History Uncovered, which I've been following for quite a while. And all of a sudden I see you guys on there at Arlington, and I'm going, wow, here's a whole new channel.
Yes.
And I've been captivated ever since because I'm a history nerd. And I like your delivery. I like JD's delivery. I like going there, seeing the items, getting little bits of tidbits that you don't pick up from other places. Your London tour was great. I love that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I really enjoyed Jack the Ripper. different look at it, which I thought was fascinating. But I wanted to expose your channel to my viewers because there's a lot of people out here. I've got a number of veterans who follow me because I aim mainly towards veterans. Veterans families and what they're doing. A lot of them are in entertainment or music industry, and my tagline has always been the scenes behind the scenes, and you fit right within that genre, having your own channel.
Yes.
And I wanted you to talk about it. Tell me how you got into having a history show, and how you're doing. And what you have planned, and all the dirt. And you can even go through ROTC and being a naval aviator flying helicopters. I was in Army helicopters, Army aviation.
Awesome.
Fort Rucker.
Yes.
So I can appreciate rotor heads.
Oh yeah, it was so. We'll start from the beginning then.
Okay.
My parents are both Air Force. I am an Air Force brat. I was born at Fort Bragg Air Force Base.
Oh.
And I grew up mostly in Cheyenne, Wyoming. Raised, my father was stationed at F.E. Warren Air Force Base. I do have some connection to Hollywood history. We can talk about that too. My parents, while Magnum PI was filming in Hawaii, they were stationed at Bellows Air Force Base, both my parents. And my mom, off duty, would work for Universal Studios, and she would be Tom Selleck's personal bodyguard while he was filming Magnum PI. And then my father would be whoever was on the set, like a guest star bodyguard. So the Air Force let them do that. They filmed a lot on Bellows. They still film on Bellows. You'll see Lost was on Bellows. A lot of Wi-Fi still goes to Bellows because you can control the public there. It's mostly a recreation base, the cabins and things like that for military personnel, but they can control the public and they can film there pretty easily. So when when it was time for me to go to school, I always wanted to fly jets. So I'm going to fly jets. And I went for the Air Force scholarship, and the Air Force told me I had to major in math. And I was like, well, I'm not really sure if I want to major in math. So one floor up was the Navy. I never even thought about the Navy. And the Navy said, major in anything you want. I said, okay, I'm going to go Navy. So I had my mindset on jets. I actually flew in an F-14. I think I put a picture of that on my Instagram. You can see I flew in an F-14 with the Jolly Rogers in 1998 off the USS Eisenhower.
Wow.
It was amazing. And I was like, this is it. I'm going to be a jet pilot. This is my dream. This was, like I said, 98. So 24 years ago when women were just breaking into combat flying. And 2 days later, I'm in the helicopter. Now I'm a midshipman at Penn State. This is, they give you a taste of what you would do in the military. And I'm in a helicopter. I didn't even know the Navy had helicopters. I thought it was an Army thing, right? And we hear on the radio, aircraft in the water. So we're in the Mediterranean, and 2 F-14s had hit each other. They were dogfighting. They had clipped wings and hit each other. And one went into the Med. The other one made it back to the aircraft carrier. And we went to rescue in the helicopter. We went to rescue the pilot and the NFO. And we got the NFO. We got the pilot. We got the NFO into the helicopter. He had broken his leg. He was screaming. We got to the carrier. We're going to take him to Turkey to life flight to save his leg. And I helped carry the stretcher out of the helicopter. And when he looked at me, I think he thought maybe I was one of the pilots or something, because I don't think he knew I was back there. And he said to me, when I heard the rotors coming, I knew I was going to be okay. And right at that moment, I knew I was going to be a helicopter pilot. I changed my mind. There's
something special about it, I think, that always sticks with you.
I know. And I loved that job. So I got winged 3 days after 9/11. So 9/11 happened. I got my wings 3 days later. And to be able to do that job in Iraqi freedom and enduring freedom, it was exciting. Helicopters was where it was at. Like, we got to do all the stuff. So it was really great. I had a great experience. I flew on small boys. So I flew on frigates, cruisers, destroyers, which to be a pilot on those ships is great because you're the only game in town and everyone wants you. So after I got out of the military, I had a family and I decided to use my post 9/11 GI Bill. And I went back to school and got a master's degree of American history.
Oh, nice.
So I always loved history, but I wanted to connect the dots a little bit more for people. Why does this matter to you? Why should you care? What's the influence you feel from this event or this person or this time in history? And I wanted to be able to speak about that with more authority, with more, primary sourced material and what historians say and what so I wanted that kind of credential behind me, and being able to use the 9/11 GI Bill to do that was great. Then COVID happened and my husband's active duty. So we move around, and that's when I came up with the idea, why don't we start a YouTube channel? Because that can move with us wherever we go. And because we move around so much, we can go to different locations and do things. And plus I wanted to be in the location and tell you about it. And I like the stories of artifacts. I also have a graduate certificate in museum studies. So what it takes to conserve an artifact and what's the importance of telling that story of that artifact. So I wanted to kind of do all of those types of things with the channel. And that's kind of what we do.
That's really nice. COVID forced a number of people to redirect their lives. And I'm glad that you did it that way. That's how I got this show, actually, is when we shut down production in Hollywood and in film and television. I had been writing and doing some producing. And then all of a sudden we weren't doing anything. And the owner of this network, who has a radio station out of a radio show out of San Diego, says, how would you like to host a show? And that's how that happened. And it was like, yeah, I'm game for it. I learned a long time ago not to say no to an opportunity.
Yes.
And because you never know where it'll take you. And I've met so many amazing people from all walks of life, all types of history authors I've met, and different types of people, and it's been very rewarding. Some great friendships I've gotten out of it. It's interesting when you talked about Hawaii and Bellows Field. After I got out of active duty, I missed the military, so I stayed in the reserve and did another 22 years in the reserve.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
And I had I stayed in Army aviation for another 10 years when the mission changed, and was through base reallocation, and they come around for whatever reason, decide you're not needed anymore. And I have to say, I had a plum job. We had 2 helicopters assigned to brigade headquarters, and we were golden. Nobody messed with us. And we took the food out to the field. We took the mail. We did all kinds of stuff, and it was like we had our own little world. And then all of a sudden, it came to a screeching halt.
Yeah. Yes.
And so I switched to the Air Force because my civilian job, where I was a firefighter medic, I had a position offered to me in Air Force Crash Rescue. So I went to that and just stayed and did that. But I was deployed several times to Bellows and to Hickam. And it's funny when you bring up about Magnum PI, because our quarters was right next to the Cayuse helicopter that they used in Magnum PI.
Oh yeah, TC.
Parked right around the corner from us. And I can remember one day, my buddies and I, we said, well, let's go find Tom Selleck. And so we go off on a drive up Diamond Head looking for him. I don't know what we would have done if we would have found him. But it's one of those goofy things you do in the military.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And honestly, like, I have a picture with him. I was a kid. I was in kindergarten. I didn't know his name was Tom. I thought his name was Magnum. So I ran up to him and I'm like, Magnum. And he picked me up and carried me. He was the nicest guy. My mom loved working for him. He was really a genuinely nice guy, tall, and could not drive the Ferrari, kept like grinding the gears. My mom was like, ooh, but they put him on a trailer a lot, trailer shots. But, But yeah, he was really, anyone who wanted a picture, my mom said, he talked to people. He was just really a genuine, nice person.
I've never met him myself, but I've heard that from a number of people, that the very same thing, that he's very genuine, very nice. So I hope someday I can meet him. But your husband's still on active duty.
Yes.
Is he on a ship, or is he stationed on land, or?
He's stationed on land. We met on a ship. We met on the USS Tarawa, stationed out of San Diego. So we're married in San Diego. That's like, we would live there for our first 10 years of marriage.
Okay.
It's a LHA. So it's no longer commissioned. It's it's not dry dock, but it's docked out in Hawaii right now. They're not really sure what to do with it, if they're going to make it in a museum or they might make it into an artificial reef. But it's one size smaller than an aircraft carrier, and it has all helicopters.
Oh, okay, sure.
Carriers, yeah. So
yeah, though I remember the first time I saw one off San Diego, I was going, "What is that?"
Yeah.
And
they're big, but not as big as a carrier.
Yeah, and I thought it was really cool to have all those helicopters on it. And for myself, I hate when they make these things into artificial reefs. I could see every one of them being a museum.
I know. I hope they make it into a museum, because Hawaii would be a great place to have it as a museum. And we'd be great to take our kids back and show them where we met.
Yeah, wouldn't that be wonderful?
It would be wonderful. I spent a lot of time on that ship. I was the most qualified officer on that ship. When I left that ship, I was not only the highest ranking female, I was the most qualified officer. I had every qual you could probably get on that ship. So it was funny. Wow. I stood a lot of watch. I mean, as a pilot, I'm standing OD watch at night, so the captain can sleep. The captain was an F-14 driver, and like, he felt confident with me on deck. Here I am, a pilot, but at least you have time to react in a ship, not like in a aircraft. So
right.
but it was exciting. You know, it was different. It's a different life. So he's a SWO, and he served as
Okay.
a warfare officer, and that's how we met. And then he did another deployment after that, and then he actually transferred to become an HR officer, which is really great for a family because he never deploys. Now he moves quite often, but he never deploys, and he's concerned with the manpower of the Navy. So that's what he does. He works for Reserve Forces Command, and they make sure that they're filling all the billets for the entire Navy. So that's what his focus is now.
Wow, that's quite a job.
It's quite a job, but it was so funny. I met this post office worker once, and they saw my ID, and they were like, you were in the Navy? I was like, yeah, I was in the Navy. He's like, what did you do, admin? I said, no, I was a pilot. He goes, you were a pilot? I said, yeah. I said, my husband's in the Navy. He goes, he is? I go, yeah, he does admin.
That's funny.
I love it.
That's basically what he does. Yeah, it's an administrative job, but it is the manpower of the Navy.
Well, you know, it's very logistics is you can't run the military without logistics.
No.
And you have to have people that know what they're doing in there. We all know that. And you know, it always amazed me. I always felt comfortable with the people I flew with because it could land anywhere it seemed like, and do whatever. But it always amazed me the naval helicopter pilots landing on the back of a frigate or something.
Yep, that's what I did.
That's got to be unbelievable.
It's unbelievable, and it's 15 feet off the water on a pitching and rolling deck in the middle of a storm with night vision goggles, and you got nowhere else to go. You can't land anywhere else, and you are down to the very end of your fuel. You've got to do it. It is one of those like, okay, you clear the deck, make sure no one's on the deck, and you have to time your landing. You're timing the rocking of the ship. So you land right when the ship goes flat, and you have a probe on the helicopter. It traps the probe. So when it rocks, it holds you.
Okay.
Yeah. But
so you have some kind of guidance. All right. Yeah. Does that also dispel the static electricity?
It does. It does.
Because there's got to be a lot.
Yeah.
In those kind of conditions.
There is, and it does. And it's exciting, and it's dangerous. It's hard. I had the rivalry with the Air Force, but I always say the Navy are the best pilots because we got to do it all, you know, without a runway, in all kinds of weather. We got nowhere else to go. And, you know, so it's just a little bit more dialed in.
No, no doubt there. I remembered when I was choosing to go into the military, and my dad had been in the naval forces in World War II. And I thought, there's no way I'm going to be on one of these ships. I don't care how big it is. I want to be on ground.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. It's different. I suppose you just get used to it.
You get used to it. That picture you have of me behind there, I'm on a frigate. 220 people. There's only 7 women on board. And we did a 8-month deployment. I think it was 8. I mean, and it was a lot. It was a lot, but I loved it. It was exciting. My call sign was Yoko. I broke up the band. But I had a great experience. And I tell people this all the time. Like, I really had no issues. Now, I'll toot my own horn. I graduated first in my class out of flight school. And then when I went into my fleet, you know, job, I made sure my physical fitness was at the top. I was a great swimmer. I could, you know, do all the physical fit readiness tests. I could lift a man on my shoulders. So all those things I wanted to be, I wasn't there to like say like, you know, women are, you know, like to push women forward, but I didn't want to be anyone's example of why women couldn't do it. So it was more like, I want to be here. I deserve to be here. I'm doing everything everyone else is doing. And I'm very confident in my abilities. There were many times I flew with people and they were like, that was amazing. Or, wow, that was the best landing I ever saw. I had a couple people say, that's the best steep approach I've ever seen. And I was like, yeah. Are you surprised? Like, so it's funny. but I, like I said, I had a great experience, and I worked with great people. I did, again, small ships, only pilot around. We'd had a lot of jobs. We did a lot of like spec ops. We did reconnaissance. I mean, you're the only game in town, so you're doing everything.
Right.
You know, you can do medevac. You never know what your job's going to be and how quickly it can change. So I liked that.
That's what I always liked about aviation, because you always had a mission. There's so many jobs in the military where, yes, you had your specialty, but you weren't always using it.
Yes.
And every day you had to fly, and we had to do so many qualifications for night flying.
Yes. Oh yeah.
And all types of things. And it was, no matter how busy it was always fun.
Always fun. That's what I loved about it. I had a great, so my maiden name before I got married to Scott, and I didn't get married to Scott till I got out of the Navy, was Mitchell. So if you know Top Gun,
yes,
my last name was Mitchell. I got to hear all of it all the time, Lieutenant Mitchell, right? So I got every Top Gun line thrown at me all the time. It was very fun. I actually tweeted at Tom Cruise. I'm like, thank you for making my life in the military really fun with that last name. And a lot of people thought that was funny. But, you know, I find it interesting even when I do the History Channel, because there is not a lot of women who do this even still, right? You think there are some history YouTube channels, but it's not a lot of women who do history YouTube channels. And you were mentioning JD. I had reached out to JD early in his channel. We had both done Arlington at the same time, not the one that we did together, but an earlier.
Right.
And I said, oh, you were at Arlington. I was at Arlington. I said, I think we were there at the same time. And he's like, and then he watched my Arlington video, which happens to be like one of my biggest videos. I do the movie stars at Arlington because I do Maureen O'Hara. Right. I do a bunch of Audie Murphy. We show the clips of their movies, and Lee Marvin. And he said, I didn't even know those people were there. And I'm like, well, then you've got to talk to me before you go and do Arlington again. And that's how that second video where we collaborated kind of came from.
Well, that's great. I liked that one because a number of them were members of our American Legion post.
Oh, wow.
Hollywood Post 43. And we have a whole memorial wall with everybody who's passed, like Jimmy Stewart, Ronald Reagan, all who were actors who were also in the military and members of our post are on this board, from Humphrey Bogart, Clark Gable, up to Lee Marvin and you know others. And so it was like that's meaningful, because I went to Arlington in 2017, and I went and tried to hit all those too. A few of them I couldn't make it to, so I enjoyed watching yours, because it was, oh yeah, I got to remember to go there. And I had a friend of mine who was he's in entertainment now, but he was one of the tomb guards.
Okay.
And one thing I noticed is when you travel like that, and after a while, people go like, "Oh, you got to come visit me." And it's like, I don't have time. I'd really like to, but
yeah.
But I had to be. I was on a schedule. I was doing some book signings, and so I kind of going as I'm out here. I'm going to DC because I haven't been here since I was at active duty. And especially go to Arlington, which is always so meaningful.
Yes.
And
I love it there. So we have two videos from Arlington. The second one is more, it's I would say it's more golden age actors, right? We do like Jackie Cooper, we do Constance
I saw that one. Yep.
And we do Ermi right at the end. And we walked 7 miles that day. So I warn people, if you're going to go to Arlington, be ready, because you can take the tram, but the tram is on a designated route and you have to pay for the tram, but you cannot drive there unless you have some kind of pass, and you must walk. And it's not in order. You know, the section numbers are all over the place. They make no sense of how they're numbered. So it's a difficult place to navigate if you've never been there before.
I walked it. I didn't take the tram because, well, I missed it at first, and then I thought, no, if I'm on that, I'm only going to go where the tram's going to go.
Yeah.
And I spent a long time walking that whole area, and I know I didn't cover all of it, but I covered an awful lot of it, and tried to get to as many places as I could. I think I went as far as where the main memorial is,
Mm-hmm.
and the Challenger.
Yes.
And I was up in that area, and then I worked my
the
way
Tomb
back.
of the Unknown. Yeah, it's right. That's all around the Tomb of the Unknown. Audie Murphy is up there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's and going up to Arlington House is unreal.
Oh,
and the view
so
from up there is just breathtaking.
breathtaking. It's amazing. You have to go. Arlington is, I believe it's America's most sacred and hallowed ground, but I really think every American should go there and visit.
Yes, absolutely. My friend, he produced a movie. I think it's on YouTube. It's either on YouTube or it's on Amazon Prime. But he went through the whole honor guard program at Arlington, and he filmed the caissons and the tomb guards. He did the funeral details, and it was really insightful to give you to see what they have to do every day for multiple times a day.
I know. It's amazing.
Yep. It's totally amazing, and I just again, it's one of my favorite ones that you did.
Oh, thank you. We just did the Tuskegee Airmen there as well. So.
Right, and I don't know if Scott had told you, but I got to be I was a pallbearer for one of the Tuskegee Airmen.
Oh, yes, he did. That's amazing.
And he was a good friend. I used to. I'm still friends with his kids, and I always said that he reminded me so much of my dad when I would sit and talk to him, and it was really when he finally, but it was an honor to know him.
Yeah,
and I met several of the Tuskegee Airmen through him who have I believe have pretty much all passed by now.
Oh, that's such an honor.
Yes, it is. It's an honor, and it's an honor that you did that part for them, because I made a point when I was in Arlington to go over there and see their memorial. I took pictures of it and I sent it to my friend Karen, and so it's really breathtaking, and the personalization that you put in it is really captivating. And I knew Jackie Cooper was in the Navy. I never realized he was a captain. I didn't realize his rank.
I know.
I knew about Jimmy Stewart. We all know about Jimmy Stewart out here, and being a brigadier general, but I never realized that he was a captain.
Oh yeah.
And it's little facts like that which are amazing. And you talked about Charles Durning, who was an amazing guy with his 3 Purple Hearts, and his he was always so humble.
So humble.
Yes.
Yeah, and amazing. I learned more about Charles Durning doing the research for that.
I'm sorry my camera's shaking, but my black lab is scratching right now.
Oh, it's okay.
Yes.
I thought maybe it was earthquake in California. I remember those days.
Yeah, no, it's a big black earthquake.
Yeah, no, I was amazed by that too, with especially Jackie Cooper. He had the wings on his tombstone, and it's, to me, I was like, wow, like these men who did these things in these movies, like Lee Marvin, really the thing that they were most proud of was their military service. And that's what, and even Charles Durning, like he was most proud of that. And so I wanted to honor that.
Yeah, it's like from what I understand, Lee Marvin had said he wanted nothing other on his tombstone other than, Marine Corps and I believe Purple Heart.
Yeah,
and that was what he wanted.
It's just
that's
awesome.
It's very awesome. It's very very moving.
Yes, and I haven't done Jimmy Stewart's grave. He's buried in California.
Yes,
but I did his hometown, and I did his museum. And I got to, there's a moment, if anyone wants to watch the video, I stand on Jimmy Stewart's porch And I freak
cool.
out a little bit because I'm standing on Jimmy Stewart's porch.
Yeah. He's I haven't made it to his gravesite yet. I want to at some point. I know there's a gravesite. It's the Patton family gravesites up in LA where there's a statue of General Patton, even though he's not buried there. His family's there, and they honor him with the statue, which I haven't made it over to that yet either.
Yes.
You know,
And I think
on
John
my
Wayne
bucket
is
list.
close to Jimmy Stewart. If you see Jimmy Stewart, John Wayne is not far away from him as well.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So yeah, hit all those.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a huge John Wayne fan. That's one of the reasons why I saw Maureen O'Hara
Okay.
I'm a huge John Wayne fan. And so Scott and I have actually been to Kong, Ireland, where The Quiet Man was filmed.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. Like I'm a big fan. And so I want to definitely see his grave. I want to do his museum. There's a museum in his hometown. There's a museum in Texas dedicated to him. But Maureen O'Hara was such an honor to do in Arlington. And I don't think anyone knew she was at Arlington. I think I'm the first YouTuber to actually go to her grave because I couldn't find anyone else who had gone there.
I think I did hear that at one point, but it was just in passing. And so when you did it, it was like, wow, this is an aspect I did not know about her, which was amazing. Yeah. And John Wayne, I've got a signed drawing of him on my office wall here, which was given to me by his body double from the movies.
Oh,
had it, and he gave it to me. And so it was it's pretty cool because he was one of my favorites also.
I love him. I'm like I said, I'm a huge John Wayne fan. I just love his movies. All of them. And I really, when I went to Lee Marvin's grave, I really talk about the man who shot Liberty Valance because for me, Lee Marvin, it's hard to play opposite John Wayne. It's hard to be the heavy against him, right?
Right.
And he held his own. Right. And I really love that movie because I think it holds true today that, sometimes you do need brawn. It's not always brains that wins. Sometimes you do need to fight. And I love that message in that movie.
Yeah, well, that's a very good movie. And I don't know if you know, but John Wayne's yacht is still in Newport Harbor.
Really? I would love to see that.
I could send you a picture of it. They've made it into like a dinner cruise type.
Oh my gosh, I have to go.
It used to be a minesweeper.
Really?
That he bought, a World War II minesweeper, and he made it into a yacht. And I can't think. I was thinking one of my nieces or one of her friends got married on it.
Oh, how cool! That's really cool.
Cruising around Newport. It's like, okay, I can do that too.
I can handle that.
Yeah, so that's really awesome. So what do you have planned for the future visits?
So we are going to do, I think next is going to be like a tips to visit Arlington kind of video. I had a lot of people kind of ask those kind of questions, like where do you park? How do you find things? And we give some advice for visiting Arlington. Now, we've done it so many times now that we kind of know exactly where to go and what times and sections and what you're looking for. But we went to Savannah and we did a whole video on just little, historic bites of Savannah. We go to like the Forrest Gump bench and we go to where they filmed, in the Garden of Good and Evil. And
right.
We do a couple of those little things. And then we did the Prohibition Museum. So there's a museum there dedicated to Prohibition and just its impact on history. Out of Prohibition comes the gangsters and, people who are moonshining and making alcohol.
Right.
And then you get NASCAR that comes out of Prohibition. So we talk about all of those things. And that museum was really well done. And they allowed me to film. They gave me free reign to film. So
that's nice.
Those will be our next videos coming out.
Yeah, I one of my things I do is I try to go to all the Civil War battlefields or
Oh yeah.
Revolutionary War, and I photograph them, and I try to document it, and so I just started now trying to put them into little videos. I call them a video postcard. Try to
That's
keep it to a
awesome.
couple of minutes just to show people,
Mhm.
that what's at these places.
Yes.
I don't for a lot of things I don't think people realize what history we have.
Oh, I know. It's right here.
And it's always amazing when you discover something. When I was in Washington, and I went to Baltimore, and all of a sudden I found the USS Constellation there,
Oh wow.
and the sister ship to the Constitution,
Constitution.
right?
Mhm.
And it's like, oh my gosh, I did not know this is here. So I had a field day.
Oh yeah. I love when you stumble upon things. We did Fort Norfolk, and I stumbled upon the Battle of the Ironclads.
Oh my gosh.
So that's when I'm like, oh, I need to tell this story, because I loved that movie Sahara and the whole ironclad, the idea of the ironclad. So then I wanted to know, what's the history of the ironclad? What is the Battle of the Ironclad? So that's when I pulled my historian part out. Like, what was going on? Who are these two ships? What happened that day? What was the impact on history after they met? And it was kind of a stalemate. So I love stuff like that as well. I'm doing Yorktown. So I've done Yorktown before, but I'm going to do
nice.
Alexander Hamilton's footsteps at Yorktown. So every place he was at Yorktown. So something different.
Yeah. No, those are nice little twists on that.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very nice. There's a lot of cool things. I was listening to another former naval officer. She's a historian also. She lives in North Carolina. I'm trying to think of where. Down, I think Fayetteville area.
Mm-hmm.
But she did the restoration and study of the CSS Hunley.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And she went all through that and the recovery and the cleaning of it out and determining, possible causes of
what happened,
the death of the crew and that.
Mm-hmm.
It was fascinating. We did a Zoom. I got to be on a Zoom with her.
That's awesome.
And it was like, this is so interesting. I could listen to her for hours. And she wrote a book on it. So while I was Zooming her, I ordered the book.
It's awesome. No, there is a lot that goes into that. And you want to make sure you want to make sure you're accurate. Like, those are the things as a historian, like what gives you credibility. And I always tell people that you're really trying to pull all primary sources, that you're not looking at, what you think it is. It's no, this is what it says, this is what I researched, this is what the evidence points to. And your thesis comes out of the evidence. You don't go in with a thesis. It comes out of what you find. So
there's a lot of local lore,
mm-hmm.
which is usually incorrect.
Yeah. I mean,
fascinating, but
yes, sometimes there's an ounce of truth somewhere in there, but you're right. Usually it's incorrect.
But I wrote a book, a Civil War book on the Western campaign. And one of the reasons when I went around to the different battlefields is my great-great-grandfather was in the 25th Wisconsin, and he was with General Sherman.
Mm-hmm.
So I followed for 6 weeks their path through the South from
cool.
Cairo, Illinois to Raleigh. And I learned so much that when I finished the book and I was showing it to my publicist, we go, you wrote a history book. And I'm going, I don't want to write a history book. What the world does not need is another history book on the Civil War. So I went back and I had watched a program with Jeff Sherrar talking about how, he's not a historian. If he claims to be, then somebody's going to, jump right up and say, oh, you got these facts wrong.
Yeah.
Which I know would happen with me too, because it's very difficult to try to chronologically put down movements and what went on during that time, because it was very confusing and stuff. and things were so far delayed. I found out like the regimental records weren't written until like 2 years after the war had ended.
Sure. So then they
And
can be overseas. Mm-hmm.
and so I went back and redid it, and I made my grandfather and a fictionary friend the two protagonists, and I made it a story about their lives in the military during the Civil War.
Yes. I love historical fiction so much more, to be honest with you.
And it gives you a lot more latitude,
yes.
because you can have fun and tell the story, but then also make some interesting characters that are living through it. So
exactly. That's awesome.
So,
I have to read your book.
Yeah, absolutely. I can send you an autographed copy.
Oh, I would love it. I would love that. Thank you.
Oh, you bet. You have to come out sometime to our Legion post in Hollywood, which is one of the oldest in the country.
Oh, I'd love
It was built in 1929. It's like a military fortress, and it's haunted. We like to say, and there's been documented sightings there of figures walking around and things like that. There's been several ghost stories done there.
I would love to make a video from there. That would be amazing.
Yeah, we redid. We have a $6 million state-of-the-art Art Deco theater.
Oh, I love Art Deco.
That was originally used to do premieres of movies back in the 30s.
Oh.
And so we restored it, but they say that Marilyn Monroe was a regular there, and her ghost haunts the poker room because she used to play poker. Oh. And it's very interesting, but there's been a number of movies that have been filmed there because the building's it's almost 100 years old right now, and it's very Art Deco, and it's very we have a bar there. It's called Cabaret Bar, but it's the bar that was used in the film The Shining.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
And you're more than welcome to come out there, and we'll recruit you and Scott into the post.
I would love to. So I didn't tell you this, but Scott comes from Hollywood history. Scott's great-grandfather, Dwight Thompson, was a prop master for Paramount Studios, and he did every episode of Bonanza. He was prop master. Every episode of Bonanza. He did Rear Window. I have a photograph of Rear Window.
Oh, very cool.
Where he's setting the windows. Like he has the names under all the windows as he's setting the windows for Rear Window. He did the 10 Commandments. I have a picture of him putting the Moses basket into the water. But he did Some Like It Hot. So I have a call sheet with Marilyn Monroe's name on it. He did Some Like It Hot at the Hotel Del, and he did The Greatest Show on Earth. I have the full script with all of his notes in it.
How cool is that?
Yeah, so it's so neat. Scott could care less, but I'm like, this is the neatest things. So I inherited these things, and I keep them around the house. And he's just like, okay. And I'm like, this is Rear Window. Like no one has ever seen that photograph because the names are not underneath the windows. It's the names they make up of every window, right? But he has the names under every window as he's setting the windows.
Oh yeah, that's definitely a treasure.
Oh, but I would love to be a member of that American Legion. So yes, I'm a yes.
There you go. All right. Well, we'll get you in.
Mm-hmm.
We that's how we the comedian Ron White.
Mm-hmm.
We got him there one day and got him a membership because he's a Navy vet.
Oh, that's awesome.
And yeah, we Shanghai you and get people to join.
Hey, you don't have to twist my arm. I would love to join, and I would love to do a video from there. I just love military history, Hollywood history. I love the combination of the two. When I was at the Jimmy Stewart Museum, there's a lot of actors who were part of the war effort, and they made a poster for war bonds, and I'm like naming off like Tyrone Power and of course Jimmy Stewart and Clark Gable and all these famous people who joined the war effort, and I just thought that was so admirable. That they put
do you ever hear of the Hollywood Canteen?
Yes.
That was our cabaret room. at the Legion, and that's how actually I think Marilyn Monroe, one of the ways she got discovered, when she was Norma Jean, she came there to volunteer at the Hollywood Canteen. And she ended up becoming, we made her an honorary, we didn't, but our forefathers did, made her an honorary colonel at the post. And we've given out a few of those: Shirley Temple, Gary Sinise, Joe Mantanga, people that help the military and veterans. We'll take them in and make them honorary members of the post and give them an honorary colonel. And so it's a tradition I think we only have, that we created with Shirley Temple, I believe was the first one.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, we've got a lot of history there, a lot of history.
Yeah, that's so cool. Like maybe Tom Cruise could be honorary because he's never served in the military, but he's done a lot for the military.
Well, a friend of mine, who's an actor now, he was a naval aviator, a commander. He flew what did he fly? What are the little Grumman? Vikings. He flew the Vikings.
Okay, yeah.
And so now he was an actor, but he was in Top Gun Maverick. He was one of the officers who threw Tom Cruise out onto the. He was one of the background that threw him on. He said, "I was the only real Navy officer."
I know.
In the shoot.
So funny. I do love that though, but you're right.
Yeah.
Okay, everyone. It is cool to pretend to be a naval aviator, but you know what's cooler? Really being one.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So that's very true. Oh yeah, you guys would have a blast, and might even spark an interest in Scott for this stuff.
Yeah. He loves the behind the scenes stuff. He really loves the editing. I've never seen him like really take to that so much. He really enjoys that.
That's good. That's really good that you're a team like that.
Yes. I'm lucky.
Very much so. And I gotta for a lot of time. and so before the next show goes on. But no, this is great. I'm glad we had you on here, and I think we've been on for almost an hour.
Yes.
And so I'm getting pretty close to getting the hard. Are we?
I think you're cutting out a little for me.
Can you hear me, Jen?
Yeah, I hear you now.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, I think we better. It's probably maybe it's a warning with. It's getting close to cutting off here, but maybe we could do this again sometime and follow one of your adventures.
I would love to,
Yeah.
and I would love like behind the scenes what it takes to put a video together. But even Tommy, I would love to hear more about you. I've been an extra one time in a movie. I will never do it again. I was an extra. I was a jogger. I ended up jogging like 8 miles that day. I got sunburned. I made like $40 and I got to eat from the cart. I was like, okay, I'm never doing this again.
Well, you got to take the good with the bad. It's not all gravy, that's for sure.
That's true. I was like, okay. And my part was almost cut. My brother called me the ghost jogger because I was there and then I was gone. Well,
my friend Doug with his throat, he got cut too. So even though he was there, they cut his portion out of the scene, which is like, well, that's what happens. But you were there. You were part of it.
Like there's my arm. That's me.
Yeah. See that where that guy is right at the end of the frame? I was just on the other side of him.
Exactly.
All right, Jen. Well, this is wonderful. I had a great time talking to you.
Yes.
And keep up the great adventures.
Oh, I will. I will.
I'll send you a book, and
yes.
we'll see what we can do with the Legion.
Oh, I would love that. I would absolutely love that. And thank you, Tommy, for all your support of the channel. I really appreciate it. It means a lot.
Oh yeah. I love history, and I love the way it's presented. Um, I've got to, that's how I found JD, was over COVID.
Mm-hmm.
I was just watching like everybody else streaming stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a lot of history channels, but there are only a few that are interesting.
Yeah, thank you.
And mostly because it's the person who's presenting it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you have that certain personality, and you can present it, and you can be part of the story, not just showing clips that we've seen a million times from other programs.
Yes.
And that's what really excited me. It's like, oh, I can really get into this, and it feels like I know you, the way you're talking and what you're doing and what you're going to show. So yes, I think you're onto something really big.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that.
Oh, you're so welcome.
That means a lot.
Well, I'm so glad that you could be on the show today. I know we kind of got it moved around with me have to go on set tomorrow, but I'm glad you could accommodate.
Yeah, absolutely. It was great. And yeah, and I like you said, I think that's what makes the channel unique is we go to the location. Because there's, like you said, there's a lot of history channels, and they can do what they call talking head, as you know, put a background, talk, but to get to the actual spot, I think there's some magic there to see what they saw and to stand where they stood and to kind of feel what must have been going through their minds and what the moment to make the history that they made. I just like to bring you there so you can see it and what it looks like today. So
yeah, I did a show on the History Channel.
Mm-hmm. Oh, cool.
And it's not probably going to come out till next year, but it was me sitting there, and I know they're going to put an image behind me, and I was talking about World War II aircraft.
Mm-hmm.
And then one of the things they wanted me to talk about was the Navy's railgun, and I'm thinking, I have no idea what a railgun is. So I had the night before, I'm sitting there studying it because they sent me what invariably happens when you do these things. They send you the material the night before that they want you to talk about. Sure. So I'm sitting there going down all these YouTube channels, like, okay, what's a railgun? What does it do? What is it?
Hey, that's great. Research is half the battle.
Yeah, I know. But it was like I could much more get into it, like if I was in a museum actually standing next to something and talking about it, rather than virtually talking about something. Totally different.
Totally different. So, and then especially if you can like see the artifact and be like, okay, so to actually hold something like this over and over again, what that must have felt like. And, so it does, being in the presence of something, I think really brings a different feel and different story.
Yeah. I could talk to you all day about this stuff. But when I was out doing my research for my book, I was in Goldsboro, North Carolina. Mm-hmm. And I met with somebody from National Geographic there, and they just unearthed a bunch of Springfield rifles that they had found.
Oh, wow.
A farmer had dug it up plowing his field.
Yeah.
And he said, "Do you want to see one?" And it was like, "Yeah, I do." Yeah. So he took me back to see it. And it's like you're actually sitting there holding something that's, almost 150 years old.
I know.
And it's fantastic. It's like, wow. And he told me the hills are full of these. We don't know how much stuff is out here in our own country.
I know.
And he said, and they just came up with it by this farmer plowing this one part of the field because they do crop rotations.
Mm-hmm.
And just found these guns, and it was like, wow, this is amazing. And so as soon as they find that, they call the museum, and then they send people out, and and it's just like, wow, this is, and when I was on that too, keep going and going, I was walking around, I was Kennesaw Mountain because that's where my great grandfather was also. I was walking my dog there, and I found a cannonball.
Oh my gosh.
You know, there was a rock,
Mhm.
and I'm going like, that's too round to be a rock. And I pulled it out, and it was a 5-pound solid shot cannonball.
Thing.
I got it sitting on my shelf here,
I'm
and
like,
it's
yeah,
like,
did you keep it?
oh yeah, I kept it. It wasn't on
Like, find
federal
it.
land. It was along the side of the road.
Yeah,
And I'm just thinking, wow, you know,
I know. That's amazing.
it truly is. It truly is. So, but I better let you go before
Yes.
my producer pops on here and says, you're way over time, Tom.
No worries. I enjoyed the conversation. Thank you so much.
I did too. I really enjoyed this, and I'll get you that information, and I have to look at doing something in the future, and we can go more into depth about just specific areas if you want to.
Absolutely. That would be great.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Jen. The best to Scott, and thank
you.
him for being the go-between between us and setting things up.
Yes.
So
thank you. Yes, I really appreciate it. He's a great sidekick. I'm lucky to have such a partner in life. So thank you.
well, I'm sure you still outrank him. So
I do outrank him. He only ever called me ma'am once on the radio. He had to. But it was funny.
Okay. Well, you take care.
Yes.
And keep up the great work.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh, thanks, Jen. You take care now.
Okay.
Okay. Bye-bye.